Welcome back, Zedheads. Hoping you're all well today, and as we approach ever closer to that solar eclipse in Scorpio, I don't know about you, but I don't really feel like going out that much. So today we will be carrying on with our Vettius Valens Anthology, still in part 1, and we are looking at a combination of 3 stars. So as ever, get yourself comfortable, turn on, tune in, and drop out. The combination of 3 stars: Saturn, Jupiter, and the Sun are unsteady and insecure. They bring failure with respect to possessions, friendships, and other business enterprises. They cause loss of possessions, and they cause some to fall into invidious accusations. These stars, having indicated help from unexpected sources or from legacies, and having increased someone's reputation, bring ruin and accusation, along with sudden danger and plots. They do cause preeminence, guardianship of others' business, tax gathering and salaries for the sake of which men endure disturbance and crises. But these stars make the basis of the nativity insecure and worrisome. Saturn, Jupiter, and the Moon are in harmony, bringing rank and profit, associations with the great and gifts. Men travel abroad, they succeed in foreign lands or because of foreigners, not only in their own business, but also in others. Men also derive benefits from women, and coming into possession of estates and land, they become lords. Some become ship owners and thus increase their livelihood, or they manage their livelihood by getting hold of whatever is involved with water. Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars bring about mixtures of good things. They make some men famous, high, priestly, governing, influential, in charge of the masses, of villages, or of military matters, commanding and obeyed. These men are not adorned with a great show of wealth. They are involved in reversals, accusations, and violent affrays, and they lead worried lives. These stars cause others to be graced with the possession of an income, to be masters of estates and property, and to profit from the deceased, but their reputation is low. Therefore matters must be interpreted according to the configuration of the heavenly bodies and the effects of the signs. Saturn, Jupiter, and Venus are good, helpful in occupations, bringing possessions. They cause associations of male and female, as well as friendships, advancement, and benefits from legacies. However, in their associations, men are slandered and envied. They are unsteady in their marriages, suffering embarrassments, hostility, and judgments. On the other hand, they are fond of their associates and easy to live with, enjoying many new friendships. They are not entirely tranquil, nor do they lack grief off with respect to children and slaves. Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury, when configured together, produce vigorous men, stewards, trustworthy, preeminent amongst the masses, commanding and obeyed, handlers of money and directors of documents and accounts. Such men have an independent and adaptable nature. Sometimes they appear malevolent and wicked, and they will become covetous of others' property, thievish and greedy, because of which they will endure upsets and crises, debts and public infamy. Sometimes these men advance because of their success in action and because of their trustworthiness. Then they gain support and are thought worthy of gifts from the great and of honours. Since they have a generous disposition, they will benefit their own family and even others. They, however, will take part in the mysteries and in esoteric affairs, and in other respects they will inquire into the curious arts and be subtle, pretending that their character is straightforward. Saturn, Mars, and the Sun are indicative of forcible and dangerous matters. These stars make bold men, men of great ambition, wicked atheists, traitors, insubordinate men who hate their own families, who abandon their own relatives to go with strangers. They are involved in contumely and dangers. They suffer falls from high places or from animals. They are afraid of burns and are toilsome in their activities. They do not guard what they already have, but desire others' goods. They profit from crime. If, however, the configuration happens to be military or athletic, they are toilsome, but not unsuccessful. Saturn, Mars, and the Moon cause men to be venturesome in their business enterprises and noble, but ineffective, meeting with reversals and violence. They become, in turn, violent, reclusive, wicked. They have a plundering and thievish disposition, and become defendants in trials. They experience detention and criminal charges, unless of course the nativity happens to be fond of wrestling or of weapons, in which case the detention configuration is fulfilled by the holds of wrestling. Some become injured or diseased and will suffer a violent end. Saturn, Mars, and Venus are favourable at the start of actions, friendships, associations. These stars bring profit, high rank, and political associations. Later, however, men are put into a disturbed state, liable to lawsuits arising from some envy, hatred, and treachery. Because of this, such men make accusations and they endure hostility from men and women. They are involved in shameful faults and adultery, and are the object of scandal and denunciation. Some are inclined to unnatural bisexual vices, and they become accomplices or participants in crime or murder by poison. Then they suffer no ordinary anxiety. Saturn, Mars, and Mercury cause crime, treachery, judgments, and alarms. Men go into debt, and expenses for the sake of scriptures or mystic law, and they suffer no ordinary tribulations and ruin. In other cases, these stars make men keen and intelligent in business, leading to a varied life. Maligned by some because of violent and illegal activities, occasionally they become involved in toilsome and dangerous business and fall into poverty. Then they blame their own fortune, blaspheme the gods, and become oath breakers and atheists. If the stars are not in their proper domicile, they bring criminal charges and imprisonment. If the stars do happen to be in their proper operative places, these men will undertake struggles on behalf of others and will generally prevail. Or they will profit from documents, from accounts, or from public office, and will increase their livelihood. Saturn, Venus, and the Sun are indicative of lofty associations, honours and deeds, and they are the cause of high rank, distinction, and preeminence among the masses. They are unstable with respect to property or other matters, and they involve men in ups and downs. They dissolve friendships, affect the reduction of livelihood, and bring public exposure or punishments arising from the betrayal of free males or of religious matters. They cause men to be unstable and bisexual in their intercourse and other relationships. Saturn, Venus, and the Moon bring vicissitudes and instability of life, especially with respect to wife, mother, and children. They impose bad manners, ingratitude, as well as jealousy and quarrels, divorces, censure, public exposure, and unnatural vices. But in business, these men are not without resource, sharp, full of accomplishment, profiting from legacies. They do not, however, retain this wealth, since they are plotted against by many and are themselves accomplices in crime and murder by poison, as well as seducers of women. Saturn, Venus, and Mercury make intelligent, clever individuals, shrewd and designing in their business enterprises. These men, however, are unsteady and frozen in their first enterprises. They become covetous of others' goods, accomplices in many crimes, seekers of curious lore, flexible, healing, enjoying newness, change, and travel. If under these conditions the configuration is afflicted, or if Mars is in aspect from the right, these men fall into disturbances and trials because of poisoning of females, or because of legacies, or they suffer a loss of livelihood or an afflicting accusation after being wronged by women. In general, they will be insecure and pained with respect to women, children, and slaves. Jupiter, the Sun, and the Moon cause distinguished, brilliant, prominent men, supervisors of public, civic, and royal affairs, governors, generals, men without peer, dictators, as well as men who are envied maligned and betrayed by some. Men who hate their own families, men who change their minds. These men are fickle and mentally unstable, arrogant, planning for their own advantage and falling into vicissitudes. They are adorned with all the pomp of wealth, but do not continue happy to the end. They falter in some things and ultimately come to grief. Jupiter, Mars, and the Sun are indicative of men involved in disturbances and dangers, but enthusiastic and effective in their business enterprises. These men have a share of glory. They are leaders, governors, supervisors of public matters, but are prone to fall because the hatred of the great follows them, along with threats, betrayals, plots from their families, and criminal charges. A few, lifted from average fortune by the favour of the great, have later been ruined. Jupiter, Mars, and the Moon produce shrewd men, bold, public men with many friends, men advancing to high place from humble fortune and thought worthy of trust. These men are governors, athletes, distinguished men, leaders, supervisors of the masses and of districts. They have a share of offices, stipends or priesthoods. They fall into reversals and criminal charges, betrayed by their own relatives or by females, and they suffer loss of possessions. Later, however, they recover them because of religious or other unexpected affairs. Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury cause vigorous, enthusiastic, active men. They receive a salary for public office or military assignment, or for doing royal or civic business. But they are unsteady in their livelihood and spendthrift of their goods. They are, however, intelligent and trustworthy stewards, easily straightening out mistakes and laying on others the criticism originally directed at them. They are maligned and fall into reversals. These stars make some men athletes, prize winners, and trainers, skilled at many things, fond of travelling and profiting in foreign lands, but failing with their own estates. Jupiter, Mars, and Venus cause men to have many friends, to be easy to associate with, to be thought worthy of association with and help from the great, to be successful and to progress with the help of women. These stars make some men high priests, prize winners, athletes, or supervisors of temples or of the masses. They cater to their own pleasures and at times live unsteadily, subject to ups and downs. These men are blameworthy and indiscriminate about sexual matters, experiencing public exposure and betrayal, grieved with respect to children and slaves, enjoying new associations and enduring separations from women. Jupiter, Mercury, and the Sun cause men to be easily successful in business enterprises and to have many friends, to be thought worthy of trusts, honours, stewardships, association with the great, and success. Some men advance from humble origins and are honoured, but they let their possessions slip from their grasp. They are easily deceived, and they become poor for some time. They do many things for religious reasons. They are not without a livelihood, but are supported by unexpected sources of high rank. Jupiter, Mercury, and the Moon make noble, propertied men, shrewd in business, collectors of gifts, and sharers in trusts, religious men, intelligent, eloquent, guardians of property and deposits, making their careers amidst documents and accounts. They are lavish, tax gatherers, stipend holders, with many friends, well-known, trustees, administrators of affairs, and generous. These stars also make men athletes, prize winners worthy of honours, pictures, and statues. If these stars occur in operative places, they make men discoverers of treasures and overseers of shrines and temples. These men will rebuild, replant, and restore places, and will win eternal fame. Jupiter, Mercury, and Venus are good, bringing possession of livelihoods and success in business. Men become intelligent, straightforward, generous, sweet, loving their families, cheerful participants in education and culture, pure, decent, worthy of honour and high rank, associated with the great, and sharing in trusts and stewardships. These men are honoured with livelihoods. They foster the young and are fond of education. They are masters of slaves, and they rear some and benefit them as if they were their own children. Since they are pious, they know the future from the gods, but they will become unsteady and grief-stricken with respect to wife and children. Jupiter, Venus, and the Sun make men who are spectacular and glorious, but who are also petty, mentally unstable, and arrogant. Sometimes they are liberal and beneficent, though changeable. At other times they are exalted with the help of another person's fame and possessions, and although coming from humble origins, they become high priests, prize winners, leaders, governors, preeminent in public matters, and protectors of the masses. They are thought worthy of honours and gifts, and are granted livelihoods. They will, however, become unnatural and blameworthy in sexual matters. If these stars happen to be rising or in operative places, then these men will be happy with their wives and children. Jupiter, Venus, and the Moon cause vigorous, famous men, high priests, prize winners, overseers of temples and shrines, benefactors, men eager for fame, catering to the pleasures of the masses, of cities or of villages. These men receive trusts and are thought worthy of honour. They are well spoken of and envied by family and friends, but experience hostility and opposition. With respect to wives and intimate friends, they are unsteady and quarrelsome, living with jealousy and separation and pain, always in suspense. Sometimes they are intimate with relatives, but not even then do they have an undisturbed home life. They get into partnerships. They will, however, become very spectacular in their manner of life, but they are full of false show, not of the truth. Venus, the sun, and the moon cause famous and vigorous men, those who live with ostentation, those who are malicious and blameworthy, slandered by most people and envied and hated by the great and by their friends. They succeed and gain possessions and are raised high by fortune. But they are also unsteady with respect to wife and children. Otherwise, they are fond of their friends and travel much, finding good fortune in foreign lands. Venus, Mars, and the moon make men who are not without resources and not inactive, but who are also fickle and mentally unstable, quixotic, beginning in confusion and putting no end to their affairs. They have great plans, are contemptuous, wandering, bold, public, martial, indiscriminate in their use of male and female partners. They are maligned and fall into insulting treatment and trials, changing friendship into enmity because of their criminal attempts and failing in their livelihood. Mercury, the sun, and the moon make revered and pure men, those who play their part well, stewards, and those who share honours and positions. They are benefactors, participants in the mysteries, troubleshooters, and they put on a great show of possessions. They become bodyguards, chamberlains, and men placed in charge of money, records, and accounts. The speech of such men will be most effective for advice or instruction. Mercury, the sun, and Venus make polymaths and men of wide experience. These men are noble, prominent in the arts and sciences, worthy of trusts and positions. They easily regret what has been done, sometimes wavering and moved in all directions, or enjoying changes in their occupations. They have many friends, are well known, succeed through their acquaintance with the great, and are honoured with a livelihood and high rank, despite being blameworthy. Mercury, the moon, and Venus make good men, easy to live with, straightforward, generous, with a sense of humour, civic-minded sharers in education and rhythm, ingenious, of wide experience, neat, pure, simple, participating in religious ceremonies, helpful, envied and hated, unstable in their livelihoods and indiscriminate in their intercourse with men or women, wealthy and thrifty. Mercury, Mars, and Venus, when configured together, bring profit, high rank, occupations. These stars make men who are shrewd in giving, receiving, and undertaking other business, who are stewards, wicked and widely experienced men who start their careers with documents and training. They are blameworthy, wasting much wealth, generous, wallowing in loans and debts and defaulting, embezzlers of others' money, seducers, deceiving with their charm, wealthy and malignant, but repenting of what they have done. Mars, the sun, and the moon make bold, manly, reckless, vigorous men. They become athletes and soldiers, rulers and governors, and they make their careers through violent, hateful deeds, in laborious crafts or in work in hard materials. They fall back into reverses and into dangerous situations, and suffer hostility and attacks from the great. But if benefics are in aspect, they maintain the basis of their nativity unimpaired. Mars, the Sun, and Venus cause men to have many friends and to be well known, to be thought worthy of alliances and honours. These men have many resources, love their associates, but are criticised and gossiped about. Their friendships do not last, and their accomplishments are fleeting. They desire much, they spend much, they are wrongers of women, and they are very ready to be insolent. They fall into reverses and hostility through their reckless decisions. Mars, the Sun, and Mercury make men of much experience, inventive in business enterprises, although careworn and unsuccessful in the goal of their calculations. They prevail unexpectedly. Therefore, such men are mentally unstable, reckless, active, hot-tempered, after rushing against their enemies and bringing charges of wrongdoing or damage against them. These men then change their mind. Occasionally, they have a cowardly and despicable character. They control their emotions well, play a part, and yield to men who they should not yield to. For the most part, they have a livelihood subject to ups and downs. On coming into another's control, they curse their own fortune. Mars, the Moon, and Mercury make men skillful and ingenious, easily aroused to action and very vigorous, wanting to act quickly but being remiss, seekers of curious lore, initiates of the mysteries, and partakers of secret knowledge. They are oppressors, violent, insubordinate, covetous, falling into accusations and suits for damage, into trials and dangers, and they experience alarms because of documents and money. However, these stars do make men wealthy and lavish, although failing in their livelihood. This, then, is what we have explained with respect to the distinctive characteristics of individual stars, as well as several taken together. If other stars share the configuration, being in conjunction or in aspect, the reading of the horoscope will be changed according to the nature of the additional star. However, I did not want to continue writing at length about such additional factors, because the old astrologers have expounded them already. The particular effects of the natural influence of each star and sign will be obvious at once to anyone who pays attention. Therefore, it will be necessary to determine how each star is configured in relation to the others. Is it at an angle or rising? Is it the ruler of a lot, of the ascendant, or of a triangle? Likewise with the sign in which the star appears. Is it of its own or of another sect? And which other signs does it have in aspect? If these things are determined, the predictions will be solidly based. If stars fall in inoperative places, the level of occupation and of fortune will be less. If you're still with me, I hope you enjoyed. If you're fast asleep, night night, and I'll see you soon, Zedheads.